choose to love where freedom flies. From my heart where the light keeps shining. And I choose to feel the whole world crying for the strength that we can rise above. I choose love.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone, wherever and whenever you're listening to this podcast. Welcome to Grace Healing Ministries. And again, today I have Larry with me. Hey, Larry, how are you doing?
Great. Good morning.
Good morning. It is December. We are almost completed a year of a wild ride for many people. A lot of things are going on. And the holiday season is upon us, or we're in the midst of it. As a matter of fact, my wife is playing Christmas music in the background. You may get some of it. And she's baking cookies and getting ready for a small get-together we have tonight. So what we want to do today is talk about the holiday season and what it may mean to some and what it may mean to others. And I found an interesting little poem I'd like to read, which is maybe relating to the turn of the year. You know, we are coming to the end of the year and the holiday season. So I'd like to read that. It's called Ring Out Wild Bells by Alfred Tennyson. Ring out wild bells to the wild sky, the flying cloud, the frosty light. The year is dying in the night. Ring out wild bells and let them die. Ring out the old, ring in the new. Ring happy bells across the snow. The year is going, let him go. Ring out the false, ring in the true. Ring out the grief that saps the mind. For those that here we see no more, ring out the food of rich and poor. Ring in redress to all mankind. Ring out a slowly dying cause and ancient forms of party strife. Ring in the nobler modes of life with sweeter manners, poor laws. Ring out the want, the care, the sin, the faithless coldness of the times. Ring out my mournful rhymes, but ring the fuller minstrel in. Ring out false pride in place and blood, the civic slander and the spite. Ring in the love of truth and right. Ring in the common love of good. Ring out all old shapes of foul disease. Ring out the narrowing lust of gold. Ring out the thousands wars of old. Ring in the thousands years of peace. Ring in the valiant man and free, the larger heart, the kindlier hand. Ring out the darkness of the land. Ring in the Christ that is to be. I love that poem.
Just discovered it.
Yeah, and it addresses so many things that, you know, we are grappling with. You know, we have grappled with this year. And, you know, I'm thinking about this holiday season now coming to the end of the year, how it is different for me personally now than it was maybe 30, 40 years ago, you know, when I was amongst my mom and dad and brother, and we celebrated in a way with the Christmas tree and everything. And it's different for me now. I have different values. How's it for you, Larry? What does the holiday season mean to you?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, one of the things that you mentioned there that in the poem that was quite beautiful is the idea of ringing out, like letting go of those things that aren't so great, and then the ringing in of the things that are blessed. And like you mentioned, this 2020 to some people has been quite disruptive, and a lot going on, and a lot people having to weigh a lot of different experiences and process through them. And I mean, quite honestly, I'll be transparent here. I'm not moved by holidays. I don't have this attachment to birthdays or holidays or whatever we've formed as these constructs to make us remember something. In my journey, something has happened within me that I've become aware of God's presence in a way that I don't feel like I have to isolate a day to remember one aspect of it, to remember the giving sense or the compassion sense or whatever, or to remember the resurrection sense of Easter or whatever. I'm not moved in that way. And so with me, I've been shifted to this place of more like a contemplative observer, because I've served so many people, and there's so many people that reach out in need, especially as we go into the holiday season. The uptick of phone calls and the uptick of emails and texting and people reaching out escalates tremendously. And quite honestly, what I see as I'm working with people, it is because they have not taken the moments between the holidays, like you've defined, in that gap moment, that gap between the heightened experiences of our lives, whether it's the gap between that moment where you step into a room and somebody attacks you, well, what's my response going to be? Or the gap between the holidays, are we filling that with God's presence? And in my heart, I feel that there's a lot that can be attached to a holiday. But I, like, as you know, and many of you know in the audience, in losing my elder son, I don't feel a greater sense around coming to a holiday, because I'm constantly in the awareness of God's presence holding him. So as I approach the holiday, there isn't even a longing or a regret or something missing. There's only a recognition of life continues forward. I am in the present now. This gap moment becomes God within me. Therefore, I can serve those that aren't measuring or seeking God within their life experience. So as to the holiday for my son, I do have to kind of muster up to be present for my younger son, who does want the Christmas tree, who does want the lights up, who does want all the fanfare. And it's like, great, celebrate that and give him that youthful experience and the fun that it brings to him and the joy of the experience of sharing and giving the gifts back and forth between his mom and his sister and the friends that we have in our lives. That's wonderful, but that's not what motivates me. Yeah. Because the motivation is not this external experience. The determination is the constant desire to connect into God's presence in each breath.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm thinking about my experience of Christmas specifically, you know, as a child growing up, and how this is still has great emotional value for me, though. You know, it's an exterior motivation or thought or a memory that comes back, but it makes me feel good. You know, if I remember my parents, they were not so much driven by, oh, there's going to be tons of presents, etc. Mm-hmm. It was more about the actual celebration, not necessarily from a religious point of view, but we would be sitting in front of the Christmas tree. And right. Of course, we were children looking at the presents, you know, when can we open them? But we would never be allowed to do that for 2 hours or so. We had to sing carols, we were listening to beautiful music. But now that I'm 50 years older, well, 40 years older, I cherish these moments. Yes. You know, and I think that's something special about the holiday season for me, from a family point of view. Families get together, share, you know, with each other. Maybe we haven't seen each other for a few months. And that's beautiful. Even though I know
that right there is something that I think you're touching on, one of the most important aspects of what the holiday can provide for people, is this importance of being together within the experience of celebration. And with all that's gone on within COVID and the different experiences over this last year, people have to become heightened in the God awareness so that they can connect with those people in their lives without lack, without feeling that they're missing. Even if they can't be in the physical household with them because of whatever mandate that has come upon them through the fears of the government and different experiences that we're witnessing. If it is that, we can increase the togetherness by touching upon God's presence. And again, even if we can't be physically present with another, we can center upon God in the gap moment and connect to our relatives, connect to our friends. Take a conscious, willful intention to sit in the presence of God, breathe upon God's presence, and gift to them that moment of your life, that moment of that life experience. to you, you're sitting there, oh, well, I'd like to go watch this show, or I'd like to do this, or I really want to get that done. And wait a minute. Before I do that, I'm going to sit, I'm going to connect with God's presence, and I'm going to reach to those people that I love that I can't be with today. Let yourself connect first unto God, then to those that you would normally have connected with. That's a survival mechanism within this holiday season, that you would connect first unto God, then the past traditions that have been stripped away or situations that you used to hang on to. Because then you become more reliant upon God's presence instead of the traditional hold upon something. And that builds a strength within you, not through lack, but through completion. Then you turn around and you gift that time, that breath within you. You gift that to those you love. You gift that to those within the political process. You gift that to those throughout the world that may not be as blessed as we might be. We gift that experience, that breathing into God's presence, and all of a sudden, after you've gifted your time to your relatives, your friends, and all the people that are deep within your heart, all of a sudden God stirs your heart to remember those that do have less, to remember those that might be homeless. And all of a sudden you gift that time, and you find yourself 3 breaths deep within that part of the experience, just gifting to those that do not have a place to attach to, that find themselves displaced from the center of humanity, that they would feel, know, and recognize God's presence within them and find a new warmth as they sit within the cold. May the cold rise within them. I can't run and grab and bring a coat right now, but I know I can stir from God's presence within me to rise as God's presence within, to bring them the comfort and warmth that can come from God's presence within them.
And this actually would be a good way for people that are alone. There's many people that are alone. They may not have family. What do they do?
Yep.
But they could reach out, to go to a soup kitchen, help out, charity, and support others. That will change the mindset.
Well, if a person does what we're talking about right now, they will get that inspiration. Something from determination, determined awareness will rise within them. I'm not visiting the family today. I really need to go downtown and I need to help out at the soup kitchen. This is what I'm being called to do. But if they give God that gap moment, those moments of divine inspiration can be heard over the demands or the traditions. It's like one year I was led to just fly to Arizona and go be with the homeless for Christmas. Now, would I have liked to have hung around with my son and my daughter and my younger son and all that was unfolding there? Yeah, but I was specifically led that I was to be there. And God brought about many beautiful experiences down there for that. And it was a beautiful encounter, and also seeing that there were many people that were living on the street that the last thing they wanted to do was see you. They didn't want your help, but you could love them in the distance that they formed. And even as I came close to somebody to reach out to them, I could see that that person wants no attention whatsoever. So I sat at a distance on a bench and just prayed for them in love. And then there were others that wanted to receive the embrace. There were others that just were actually hateful of the fact that they could be recognized in a homeless state. And there were others that wanted to be seen in a homeless state. But if you're looking for God in these experiences, you will find it through the seasons. You will know that you can be utilized as an instrument of blessing, not just what can I get through the holidays, but what can I become as I am giving of God within me for others. That might help people cope better, to know themselves utilized as a divine tool through the holiday season, instead of what is missing? Where is my family? Why are they not here? And then we can look at the different experiences, like I shared with you beforehand. As we look at the holiday of Christmas, it actually was originally a pagan holiday for the solstice that is shifted and moved it over to the 25th instead of the 21st. And then we as Christians have found ways to convert the pagan practices into ways to recognize them as Christian practices. And it's like, I have a spiritual sister in God that sent a beautiful message that it's like, did you know that the chopping down of the Christmas tree represents the death of Christ Putting it back up represents the resurrection of Christ. Did you know that the wreaths we hang are never-ending circles that represent eternity? The candy canes were made to look like shepherd hooks, and the colors, red, Jesus' blood, white, purity. The gifts represent the 3 gifts the wise men brought for the baby Jesus. So when you are running around trying to find the perfect gift, stop yourself, take a breath, and remember, we have been given the perfect gift of peace, which is Yeshua's presence within us. And this Christmas can become an instrument for us to discover God's presence and how could God move through us for the sake of those people that can't reach Christmas within their own heart. So it's wonderful to take these attributes or experiences of other, religious celebrations or other practices and turn them into our own tradition if we're centering upon God, determination, and inspiration from within.
That's funny. I've never heard this before. That is really funny. And it makes me remember when I was a teenager, I had my own philosophy about the Christmas tree. And it's actually a philosophy that I have for every tree now that I look at. Okay. And as I was sitting in front of the tree, in Switzerland back in the 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s, we would actually put burning candles on the branches.
Yes.
We would light candles everywhere. So you've got to sit in front of it and watch it and make sure, if a candle burns down too fast, put it out, etc. My philosophy was always, okay, look at this tree. There is a stem in the middle, a strong part, that rises in the middle. That's the God connection. And then you have the branches, that's us. Yes. Every branch looks different and we carry a light. And so when
that is beautiful.
Yeah, when I go through a walk now too, if I look at a tree, I always kind of think, the center being the strong part of the tree and the branches is us. And we can swing in the wind, and survive as long as we stay attached to that center piece of the tree. So that's one way to look at it. So there's different ways to look at it.
I love that. That is so beautiful. That is a beautiful expression. So that one right there, I think, is probably one of the best ones for people to hear in this whole message as to how to look to the central core of God's presence. And then we are the branches carrying that gift of light. Yeah. I love that. That's a beautiful image.
Good.
So these things are beautiful ways for people to actually, quote, make it through the holidays. If you can look to the nature of what is the manner of blessing here, how grateful am I for the blessings within my life? And even though I see that certain things aren't in place, what can I do to help those that can't touch the core of that tree, the very central point of the tree? Those that find themselves so far out on the branch, they've forgotten that they're actually connected to the central trunk of God's presence. Mm-hmm. What can I do to be the one to gift them the light enough that they might see the trunk, see the God's presence within them? And we can become, in our joyful celebrations, we can still become an instrument of use to help encourage, support, and sustain people in the remembrance of God within them, if we allow that gap moment to become God.
Perfect. And I think this year has been a demonstration of how we almost naturally do that more, being aware of that center, because we had challenges to deal with from, the whole year, so that I think we have a better awareness naturally that, we help each other out. We have blessings to be grateful for. And it's a good thing to have that kind of mindset going into the new year.
I agree.
Good. Well, this was a message of holiday cheer a little bit, I think, today. And we think we can wrap it up right here, unless Larry, you have one more thing. We're good, right?
Yeah.
We have a lot of wisdom we shared.
Yes, so, I believe that it is as simple as
exactly.
Are people coming back to the core remembrance? God first. Before I go shopping, God first. Before I set the tree in the corner to decorate it, God first. That simple act will transform your holiday to become a holiday of blessing instead of a holiday of consumption. It'll move a person to the realization of what it is in God in every act, instead of how, oh my God, I forgot to get that gift. Oh my God, I forgot to get the stocking stuffers. And they get so cut. If you would be God first before you go search for the stocking stuffer material, or before you actually lay your hands upon something from the shelf, that moment is the holy opportunity to transform it from a moment of consumption to a moment of blessing, so that it might bless another. Not just how you are able to provide this, but what is the intention that you're giving to somebody within this? So it is that God moment first. And you know, we cover that constantly within Grace Healing, because that is what we believe is to be the core, is God first within all things. Every thought, word, and action, every word we witness, every situation we encounter, every dialogue we offer is God first, because it is so easy for us to find ourselves moved from a place of blessing to a place of consumption. So
let us all see and celebrate those holy opportunities that are all around us.
So why don't we do something? I mean, I know on these videos we kind of changed our format, and I want to state to people, we begin this process in prayer. Andreas and I surrender into prayer because we committed that through Grace Healing, that before we engaged in anything, we would engage in prayer first. But with this format, we do the prayer first, then we begin the recording. I would like to speak a blessing on to each person right now for the holiday. Wonderful. That it would be magnified to take their whole year in blessing. So if we can. And for those that are new to this process, as I do surrender into prayer, God takes me into many languages. Please just listen from within your heart. Do not be stuck upon the words. Allow for God's Spirit to reach deep within you. Abun solebelian tura konderevian mereloma akuramurishta kulia tenimikaila. Abramu olomia kuhalien abarshne eliamidu kutariviare tutariviu. Iarve Elohim malamu yosheshirikarabu. Yahshua Roma esisi kilebe tuniana kukalu. Abrin talabakonye alabakliete disnakuta reviane. Abun, breath of life, we thank you to know your presence within us. We surrender ourselves now in thanksgiving and the holy opportunity to know that your Spirit greets us in each and every breath. Yahweh, God and Creator, we offer thanksgiving to know that you will guide our steps through this holiday, that we might magnify your glory in each breath we receive, to extend our time for your use, to bring encouragement to those lost in darkness, to bring hope to those lost in hopelessness, to bring peace to those lost in discord. May we recognize the fullness of your presence throughout the whole of this holiday, and may we be practiced in this awareness to carry this understanding throughout our whole year to come. And we thank you through your most blessed and holy name, Yahweh, Yahshua, Abun Solobon Yidikiriabach. And to all of you through this holiday, I pray blessing upon you each and upon your families. And may you know that you are loved, and we are here to serve in any way that you need to reach out. Check into the website. Andreas has all that there for you.
Yeah, gracehealing.org and gracehealing.video. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you, Larry. And I think we'll attempt next week again, right? Even though it's a Christmas season, but it's Christmas week. But we'll see you all next week.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Be blessed, everyone. Bye-bye.
Yeah.